So we're gonna head over and talk about roles in a little bit more detail. So let's first talk about roles in real life. Right? Each one of us has a specific role at work. Right now, my role here is to make this video for you. Right? Your role at work right now is to watch this video. Right? That's assuming you are watching it. So each one of us at work has our own specific roles. Right? When we go home, we also have a different role as well. Right? Some of us might be mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, children, whatever the case is, we have roles wherever we go. And our roles help define what we're able to do. So again, my role allows me to create this video for you. And your role at your respective company has given you the ability to watch this. Right? And the same idea applies within Liferay as well. Your role within Liferay, the platform, defines what you're able to do in Liferay. So rather than going to an individual user and saying, these are all of the things you can do, we assign the role to the user and then they inherit all of the permissions of the role. Makes life a little easier. Instead of defining a set of permissions for each individual user, we define a role or a series of roles and then assign them to the users that we want them to have. Now let's give a more technical or more formal definition of roles. Very simply put, a role is just a collection of permissions. Right? Assign that role to a user, they inherit the permissions or they gain the permissions that are defined within a role. We do this so that our users within Liferay are able to perform the jump functionality that they need. So Omar, for example, will be given a role that allows him to create blog posts, for example. And within roles, we have 3 different scopes or 3 different areas where roles take effect. So we have the platform role, the site role, and the organization role. Again, taking a step back, in real life, right, we have roles in different aspects of our lives. Right? At work, we have a specific role. At home, we have a specific role. And Liferay is the same idea. If you are a member of a site, you have a specific role in that site. If you are a part of an organization, you have a specific role inside that organization. If you're part of the platform, you are also given a specific role in the platform. And we can manage all of these things within the control panel. So the scopes here, right, we just talked about it, but let's recap it one more time. In the UI of Liferay, the platform role is actually known as the regular role. So this is a role for the platform as a whole. Site role is defined also at the platform level, but is applied in a specific site. And the organization role is also the same as well. Defined at the platform level, but applied when a user is a part of an organization. Now let's talk a little bit more in detail about this, about how these role scopes kind of work. So let's say, for example, we have Omar again, and we want Omar to create content within the Livingston Hotels and Resorts site. And that's the only site we want him to create blog posts for. What we can do is assign Omar to a specific site and then give him the site role to create blogs. Very simple, right? But let's say we want Omar to create blog posts in every single site in our Liferay instance. Maybe for some reason all of our sites have blogs and we want Omar to contribute to every single one. What we can do instead is we can give Omar a platform-wide role. So when I give him a platform-wide role, a regular role, it's basically saying that whatever permissions is defined within the platform role allows you to perform it at the platform level or everywhere. Let's take an extreme example here. Let's say I am an admin of a site. So if I'm admin of a site, I'm an admin only at that specific site. But let's say I'm an admin of the platform. This means that I'm an admin of everything that's inside of the platform. This would include every single site, every single organization, and every single user. So to sum up the idea here, if I want to do something at either a specific site or a specific organization, I'll pick either the site or the organization role, depending on what I need to do. If I want to do something literally everywhere within Liferay, I will select a regular role. So that's kind of a little extra info for you there. So Liferay has a couple of predefined roles given to us. These are some of the common ones that we would probably use. So starting off at the regular role, we have an administrator, can do pretty much everything. We have a user. This is a kind of regular user. Once you sign in, you are given the user role. We also have a power user as well. It gives you a couple more additional permissions. And then we have the guest role. By default, everybody is a guest. If I navigate to a Liferay site, I am automatically given that guest role since I haven't signed in. Once I sign in, I'll be given the user role. Now within sites and organizations, we also have a set of roles as well. You can be the owner of the site or organization. The owner is kind of the top tier admin. So the owner can do literally everything. Contrast that with the administrator. The administrator is almost like the owner, but the administrator has one restriction, and that's the administrator cannot create or assign other administrators or owners. The owner role is able to do that. And then finally, we have our member. So if you've been assigned to a site or an organization, you are given that member role. And one other role that I want to kind of squeeze in there, whenever we create something within Liferay, whoever created that something is the owner of that thing. If you're an owner of something you've created, you can do literally whatever you want to it. So if I created Liferay, I can do everything to Liferay since I'm the owner of it. If I created a site, same idea. If I created a blog post, I can do anything to that blog post. This will become very important later on. So we saw a list of roles, and you might be thinking, oh, hey, I have a specific use case. I have a specific job role that I want to apply to my users, but I don't see it in Liferay, and that's going to happen a lot. Liferay only gives us a very limited set of roles, kind of the extreme. You're either an admin or you are just a regular user or member. There is no in-between there. The in-between is for us to fill in the gaps. So to do this, we would have to create our own custom role. When we're creating a custom role, the principle or the idea that we must follow is called the principle of least permissions. The whole idea here is we only give users just enough to do what they're trying to do and nothing more. People being people, they might accidentally stumble upon something that, they may not know about or we don't want them to do, and then they're going to do it anyways. And so we don't want chaos to happen within Liferay. So only give users the bare minimum in order to do what they need to do, right? No more, no less. So when we're creating a new role, we will create the role, define a set of permissions, and then assign the user to that role. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how we're able to create a custom site role within Liferay. So we're going to start off by creating a role, and we're going to call it the site copywriter. We'll add a description. We'll then define the permissions within the role, and then assign web content permissions. And then we'll also add some permissions for the documents and media. So let's go ahead. We're going to go into our Liferay instance and work through this. Now that we're here, what we're going to do is head over to the control panel. From the control panel, I'm going to head down here to users and then roles. All right, now that I'm here in roles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select site roles. So we're going to be creating a site role for Maria. Again, Maria is the one who is going to be creating content for us. So we want her to be able to do just that, create content. So we're going to select site roles over here. And then we're going to click on the plus button over here on the right-hand side. So clicking on the plus button to add a site role. And we need to give this site role a specific title. Now, generally speaking, for the title, we like to preface it or start it off with the type it is. So site, and then we're going to call this copywriter. So site copywriter is going to be the title or the name. We can add a description as well. So the description could be something like site copywriter, right? Copywriters create content for sites within, let's spell that correctly, within the Livingston platform. Can't help but read it as Livingstone, but Livingston platform. Once you type the description as well as the title, go ahead and click Save. So we have created the role successfully. We can now define the permissions here. What I'm going to show you guys right now is going to be one of the tricks that I like to do. This is not in the book, and you don't have to follow this exactly if you don't want to. This is going to be part demo here. So this part is a little bit extra. I'll let you know once I'm back on the path of the book. So when I'm creating a role on my own, when I'm just kind of playing around, what I like to do first is create the role, just as we just did. But then what I do is I assign the role to the user that's going to be using it, or just to any user. So I'm going to start off there. So from here, let's see. I'm going to stay here, but I'm going to open up a new tab. So we're going to head down to the site section, since this is a site role. And then I'm going to be selecting the Livingston Hotels and Resort. Again, feel free to stay where you are. You don't have to follow me just yet. I'll let you know. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to assign Maria to be a member of the Livingston Hotels and Resort. All right, so site membership here. I'm going to click on the plus button over here on the right, and then I'm going to add Maria. Okay. And then I'll show you guys again one more time how to do this process for reals the way the book has it. So I'll check the box next to Maria's name and then click Done. So Maria is now a member of the Livingston Hotels and Resorts site. From here, I'm going to click on the Options button, or the snowman buttons here, and then I'm going to select Assign Site Roles. Right, from here, I'm going to assign the site copywriter role, and then I'm going to click Done. Now, one of the things that we can do as an admin of Liferay is impersonate other users. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to impersonate Maria, and then as I configure my permissions on our role, we'll see what happens as I check these boxes. We'll do a little more explaining soon. So again, we're still watching here. You do not have to follow along with me just yet. I'm going to go ahead and impersonate Maria. All right, so over here, okay, I'm going to search for Maria. And then the options button that lines up with Maria's name gives us the option to impersonate the user. As another side note, you'll see here in the options to delete and export personal data. So being compliant there. So I'll impersonate Maria like so. And then we're going to see another tab open up, and I see it from Maria's perspective. So we see there are no admin buttons up here at the top right. When I open up the menu, we have no control panel. There's no sections here to create web content. So what I like to do is I go back and forth. I'll assign a specific permission, I save, and then I see how does that affect the role. What would I see if I had the role assigned to a user with just that permission? I then keep on going until my desired effect has taken place. So heading back over, now altogether, you guys will be on a different screen here. So I'm going to head back over to the roles section. So control panel, users, and then roles. From here, heading over to site roles. And then I'm going to select the options button that lines up with the site copywriter, and then I'm going to click edit. From here, once I edit, I'm going to select the define permissions section. So go ahead, again, we're doing this all together now. So if you see the define permissions, go ahead and navigate there. So go ahead and select define permissions, and then we're going to expand out the site administration section like so. Right now on the right hand side, we see there are no permissions assigned to the specific role. So what I'm going to do here is expand out the site administration section like I already did. And then we're going to expand out the content section. So to create content within Liferay, for Maria to create content for Livingston Hotels and Resorts, we need the web content section to be made available to her. So what I'm going to do is select the web content under content. And when I do, you're going to see a whole bunch of checkboxes. So we're going to wait for that window to show up here. So once the window shows up, we have a bunch of checkboxes. Now for me, I'm just adding some anecdote here. When I first started Liferay and I looked at this was one of the most overwhelming things for me when I first saw this. I had no idea what half of these things meant, right? What does ad structure mean? What does ad web content mean? Why do I see view so many times? Why do I see update? What is all of this, right? How do I know what happens when I check these boxes? That was a huge question mark for me when I was looking at this. And so this is why I'm showing you the way that I'm showing you now. This methodology here helped me kind of understand what these checkboxes do or don't do. So let's start off with what are these two big sections within the web content. So the first section is general permissions. What general permissions is defining for us is, do you have access to the section within the site administration? So in this example is, do we have the permissions to access the web content section in the site admin? So right now I'm impersonating Maria over here on my second tab. And we see, unfortunately, Maria does not have the ability to access the web content section. So jumping back over to my first tab, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to select access in site administration, right? So access in site administration, what this is going to do is, well, just that. It'll give Maria the ability to navigate into the web content section. For redundancy, I'll go ahead and check the view box, right? And then from here, you guys stay put. What I'm going to do is I'm going to save, and we're going to see how this takes effect. So stay where you are, keep those two boxes checked, but as for me, I'm going to go ahead and save. So don't go anywhere. So again, I'm going to save, and we're going to see how this is going to affect Maria. So one thing to note before I push on, you see Liferay has given us some additional permissions as well. This is another one of those interesting wildcards. Sometimes Liferay will give you permissions just based off of assumption. If you are trying to do this, then it's just gonna make sense that you're able to do this as well. But anywho, let's take a look and see what Maria is able to do now. So I checked those two boxes, right? Access and site administration and view. I'll go ahead and refresh my tab with Maria here. And then we're gonna see we now have the content section. So we're on our way, right? So over here in the content section, I now see web content. And then from web content, I'll click into web content itself. And we see we are now able to get into the web content section. Albeit, we're not able to do everything here just yet. But this is a pretty good start, right? I'm able to get in. Now, let's go ahead and configure this a little bit more. So jumping back over to our permission delegation here, right, I'm going to head back to where you guys are at under the web content section. Now the next section here is the resource permissions. So top part is, do I have access to whatever I'm trying to access within the menus within the site administration? The resource permissions here are in regards to the different things inside of that section. What are you able to do with them? So we're looking at headers like this. So the first part is, once I'm inside of the web content section, what can I do? Right? Can I add a feed inside of the web content section? Can I add a folder? Can I add web content? Can I update things there? Can I view things there? So this is what this first section is here for. So while we trust Maria, she's a professional copywriter, we want to be able to keep things neat. So what I'm going to say to Maria is, hey Maria, when you are inside of the web content section, what I want you to do is create folders, right? Create the folders and then create web content inside of them. That way we're a little bit more organized. Hopefully Maria will agree with me and then we'll be good to go. Go ahead and check the box that says add folder. So check the box for add folder and then go ahead and check the view box as well, since it's automatically given to us. If you want to let it automatically be given, feel free to do that. Again, go ahead and stay here, right? Do not click save just yet. For me, I'm going to click save so that we can see this example. So stay where you are. I'm going to scroll down and then I'm going to click save. So you guys do not click save just yet. So Maria now has the ability to add folders inside the web content section. Let's go ahead and see how that affects Maria over here. So I'll go ahead and refresh. And then we see there's that blue plus button over here on the right hand side. So I'll go ahead and click on that blue plus button and then we'll wait for it to load. Right, you see there's no options here and we're creating a new folder. We can tell that based off of the heading up here at the top. So for the name of this folder, we can pretty much call it whatever we want. We'll call it Maria's test content. And we can call it whatever we want. I was just trying to think of a name. For the description, I can say content for Maria to content created by Maria to test functionality. You don't have to add the description, but I like to just for fun. From here, I'll go ahead and click save. And we have Maria's test content. Now you might be thinking, well, she can create a folder, that's all fine and dandy, but we would have to progress through and then give her permissions to create content within the folder, right? That's what I would think too. But this is one of those interesting functionalities within Liferay. Again, if you create something within Liferay, you are the owner of that thing. And what that generally means is you can do whatever you want to it. So for example, I have the options button that lines up with Maria's test content. And this is Maria that I'm impersonating. This is who I am. You can see Maria can not only edit the folder, but she can also move it. She can access the permissions of it. She can even move it to the recycling bin. I didn't give her those permissions, and you didn't give her those permissions, right? So interesting, very interesting functionality within Liferay. So keep that in mind as you work through these permissions. If you are able to create something, you can do whatever you want to that something that you created. So Maria created this folder, but if I created the folder inside of the Livingston Hotels and Resorts, that is my folder, not Maria's. So Maria cannot do anything to my folder, but she can do anything to hers, right? If you own a house and I own a house, just because I own a specific house doesn't mean I can walk into your house and grab whatever it is that I want out of your refrigerator, right? Unless you're really that generous. If you were, then thanks for that, but that's really rude. So yeah, if you're an owner of something, you can generally do whatever you want to it. So let's push this example even further. Let me go into Maria's test content here. So this is her folder. I have the plus button up here at the top right, and you can see I can create content inside of this folder, and I can also create a subfolder if I wanted to. So if I wanted Maria just to be able to create content, this would be it. I would be done. But let's keep on pushing on here. So back over in our permissions, go ahead and stay where you are, and then I'll catch up to where you are at. So that's what the add folder does for us, and then some additional things as well. So the next section as we scroll down is web content folder. This section here is basically saying, what can I do to web content folders that are inside of my site? So again, if I create a folder, it's my folder. Maria shouldn't be able to do anything with it, right? Let's say we want Maria to be an admin of all of the content within the Livingston Hotels and Resort. So from here, maybe I want her to be able to add subfolders within a folder I created, right? Or maybe I want her to be able to add web content into my folder. We want her to be an admin of all of the web content. Maybe this is some of the functionality we want. Maybe I'll allow her to delete it or maybe update it, right? It's completely up to us as to what we want her to be able to do. So go ahead and check those boxes as well. And let's go ahead and see what other boxes we can check. So add subfolder, add web content, and then I'll also check view as well. Again, if someone is trying to be sneaky and Maria's the admin, we want her to be able to see all of the folders that are there, right? Not just, the ones that are quote unquote visible. All right. So in Liferay, when I create web content, the individual web content itself is known as a web content article. So if Maria is indeed an admin of all of the web content articles, right, we want her to be able to do some things with it as well. We can keep it simple here, and I'll go ahead and check the box for update. Okay, and then let's scroll down. There's some other things here as well, but we're going to go ahead and leave those things alone. And then from there, let's go ahead and click save. All right, so we're doing quite a lot here. We're going to go ahead and define another set of permissions for Maria, and then we'll go on from there. So I'm not going to go back and forth so much. We've already spent a good amount of time there. So in your own time, feel free to try that out. assign a role to someone, impersonate them, start adding permissions to the role, and see how that affects your impersonated user. Right, so this is what I do, and when people ask me what things do. So let's push on here. I'm going to open up the site administration section one more time. We're going to head over to the content section, followed by documents and media. So we explained before, the documents and media is where we're able to upload things like images into Liferay. And so for Maria, as she's creating content, maybe she wants to add images to those static web content pieces or articles. If she wants to be able to do that, we need to give her access to the documents and media. So we're going to go ahead and do that in this section here. So just as before, the pattern is the same. The first part here is general permissions, basically just defining does the role have the permissions to even access this section within the control panel or within the product menu. And so we're going to check the box for access and site administration, followed by view. This is going to give her the ability to access the documents and media inside of the site administration section. Right. Next up is kind of on us. Right. We need to determine what can she do once she's inside of the documents and media. Right. We don't necessarily want her to be a full-fledged admin of the docs and media, unless we do. That's kind of up to us, right? And so maybe we might follow the same pattern as before. We can say, hey Maria, when you want to upload or use an image for your web content, go ahead and head over to the documents and media, create a folder first. Once you create that folder, go ahead and upload whatever sort of images you want inside of that folder. And so with that, I might just say add folder, right? Just keep it as is. Don't need anything beyond that. But if you want Maria to have a lot more permissions, right, we can do that too. This kind of depends on our preferences here. So I'm going to say add folder, and I'm going to leave that alone here. So from here, I'll go ahead and scroll all the way down, and then let's go ahead and click save altogether. So this is becoming quite a long exercise here. I promise we're almost done. So last steps here is we're going to go ahead and retrace what I did earlier. I'm going to show you how to assign Maria to be a member of the site, and then assign the role to Maria once again. So let's head down to the site administration section. This is the last one here, right? If you do not see Livingston Hotels and Resorts, click on the compass icon right there, and then select that site. So once the site is selected, we'll expand out the site administration section, heading down to members, and then site memberships. So from site memberships, what we want to do is click on the plus button over here on the right hand side. Right, once we click on that plus button, go ahead and search for Maria. And once you've found Maria using the search bar, you'll check the box at the top left of her name. So once you check the box, go ahead and click done. Since Maria is already assigned on my end, I'm just going to exit out. So Maria is now a member of the site. So from here, what we're going to do next is click on that options button that corresponds with Maria's name, and then we're going to select assign site roles. Okay, and then go ahead and check the box for site copywriter, and then click done. Again, same idea here since I've already assigned the role, right? Not much I can do from there. I'll go ahead and exit out of the screen, right? And then we'll see a site copywriter assigned for her. All right, so last couple of things here is we're going to configure Maria just a little bit here. So what we'll do is we'll head over to the control panel, head over to the Users section, followed by Users and Organizations. From Users and Organizations, we're going to search for Maria one more time. So I'll search for Maria here. And then we're going to select the Options button that lines up with Maria's name. Right, so off the top of my head, I do not know what Maria's password is. So I'm going to select the Options button, followed by Edit. And then once we're editing Maria, you can head down to Password, and we're going to set a password. So again, we need to reset the password when we sign in as her. So I'm going to set the password as the word password. We'll do the same thing again with password. And then from there, once you're ready, go ahead and click Save. And then once you've saved, let's go ahead and we're going to log out of our Livingston admin user. Right, and then once we've logged out, we're going to sign back in as Maria. You can also impersonate her if you want. But just to get the full experience, I'll log in as Maria.Flores at livingston.com. And then the password I set for her is password. Okay. And then from there, I'll scroll down and click I agree. I'm sure you already read the terms of use twice already, so no need to read it again. We're going to set a new password here. I'm going to set the password as test. Okay. And then my father's middle name. Coincidentally, my father's middle name is also Test. So Joseph Test Chow is my dad's name. Not really, but good enough for this question here. All right, so we're signed in as Maria. Under the content section, we have web content and documents and media. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the rest up to you. Go ahead and play with this a little bit. Go ahead and use the Maria user to create some content and upload some images within the documents and media. Once you get in some practice there, go ahead and we'll come back and recap some of the things we've talked about. All right, so just to recap here, we've created our own custom site role, which allows us to create content. From there, right, we assigned the content role to Maria. We first had to make Maria a member of the site, and then we assigned the site role to her. After that, right, I trust that you guys went through and added some content using the Maria user. If you didn't, go back and do that. But if you didn't, again, that's cool too. That's all right. So we signed in as Maria. We used her user to create some content. And let's go ahead and recap. So read through the book a little bit and then fill in the blanks on that summary section. And we're going to take a look at that all together once you're done. So starting off, a role is a collection of permissions that reflects the actions needed to perform a particular job role. So a role is just a collection of permissions. Roles have three scopes. It can either be at the platform, the site, or the organization. Right? In the platform itself, though, we call that role the regular role. So the regular role is what we apply at the platform level. Site roles are assigned to users that are a part of a specific site. So site roles apply within the scope of a specific site. Organization role permissions only apply to the members of a specific organization. So you're given an organization role once you are a member of that organization. So you cannot be assigned an organization role without being a part of the organization. Same is said with the site role as well. Liferay does have some default roles, but we can also create some custom roles to fulfill the various job functionalities throughout Liferay. And so with that, go ahead and discuss with your coworkers what are some custom roles that you might need? What are some of those one-offs or maybe those job functionalities that you're going to need to implement into Liferay? Discuss who needs access to what, and what scope are you going to be using? Is it going to be site, or maybe organization, or maybe something in between? So go ahead, think through that a little bit, and play around within Liferay. Try to create that role yourself and see if the desired functionality is met. Right. Once you're good with that, I'll go ahead and see you in the next section.